In the plague years, gravediggers across Germany swore they could hear it, a wet, rhythmic chewing rising from fresh graves. The dead, they believed, were eating their own burial shrouds, and every bite, they said, was killing someone above ground. This is the story of the Nachzehrer, the Shroud-Eater, one of the strangest and most persistent beliefs in European history. Not a vampire that rose from the grave, something worse, a corpse that never had to leave it. The idea took root in the German-speaking lands and across parts of Central and Eastern Europe, and it flourished wherever plague did. When an epidemic tore through a village, the first person to die was often blamed for the deaths that followed. The logic was simple and terrifying. The dead one was still hungry. Down in the dark, it gnawed its linen shroud, then its own fingers, then its own flesh, and with every mouthful it drew the life out of its living relatives, one by one, like a rope being pulled hand over hand into the earth. So when a family began to sicken in sequence, mother, then son, then daughter, the village didn't look for a cause among the living. They took shovels to the churchyard. What they found when they opened the graves seemed to confirm everything. Corpses with shrouds pulled into their mouths, bodies bloated, lips drawn back, dark fluid at the mouth, nails and hair that appeared to have grown. Today we know these are ordinary stages of decomposition, gases swelling the body, skin receding from nails, purge fluid staining the linen, and shrouds simply collapsing into slackjaws. But to a village burying its third child that week, it looked like a creature caught mid-meal. And so came the countermeasures, a grim folk ritual performed with complete seriousness. A stone or coin was forced between the corpse's teeth, so it would have something to grind on that wasn't its shroud. Jaws were bound shut with cloth. Some corpses were buried face down so that if they chewed their way anywhere, it would be deeper into the earth. In the worst cases, the sexton's iron spade came down across the neck, and the head was set between the feet. This wasn't whispered superstition on society's edges. In 1679, at the University of Leipzig, a scholar named Philip Rohr published an academic dissertation, De Masticatione Mortuorum, on the chewing of the dead, soberly weighing whether corpses truly devoured their shrouds and whether the devil animated their jaws. Half a century later, Michael Ramft wrote an entire treatise trying to explain the sounds gravediggers reported hearing. Educated men in candlelit lecture halls were debating the appetite of the buried, and then, centuries later, the belief surfaced again, this time from the mud of a lagoon. In 2006, on the Venetian island of Lazaretto Nuovo, archaeologists excavating a mass grave from the plague of 1576 uncovered the skeleton of an elderly woman. Wedged deliberately between her jaws was a brick. Whoever reopened that plague pit had seen her shroud sunken into her mouth, decided she was feeding, and stopped her the only way they knew how. The press called her the vampire of Venice, but she wasn't a vampire. She was a shroud-eater, the fear of a dying city, pressed into a dead woman's mouth and left there for 400 years. What makes the Nachzehrer so unsettling isn't the monster, it's the mirror. Plague was invisible, grief demanded a face, and so the mourned became the accused. Families exhumed the people they had wept over days earlier and mutilated them, not out of hatred, but out of love for the ones still breathing. The chewing sounds? Likely the shifting, popping, gas-releasing noises of decomposing bodies in shallow, crowded graves. The village heard biology and named it hunger. The belief faded as medicine explained what churchyards could not. But stones and jaws keep turning up, in Poland, in Germany, in Venice, quiet evidence of nights when the living stood over open graves, listening. Because the true horror of the Shroud-Eater was never the corpse, it was the silence between deaths. And the question every survivor asked in the dark, who is it chewing for now? If stories like this keep you up at night in the best way, subscribe to Obscura, and tell me in the comments which forgotten belief you want dragged into the light next. Some graves are better opened carefully.